This year's 12th Philippine Global Consultation on Child Welfare Services focused on post-adoption services, gathering different adoption advocates across the globe. The opening ceremony started with the entrance of colors by the Nayo ng Kabataan, followed by the Heavenly Invocation and the singing of the Philippine National Anthem by the Verlani Children's Choir. Attorney Noel Del Prado, board member of ICAB, welcomed this year's participants to the 12th Philippine Global Consultation on Child Welfare Services. He said that this year's theme was a result of inquiries, requests, and the struggle to provide post-adoption services. Undersecretary Patricia Taraji of Operations and Programs Group of the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the alternate chair for ICAB introduced keynote speaker Secretary Corazon Juliano Soliman of the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the chair of ICAB. Secretary Soliman said that adoption is not a single event but a lifelong process. Hence, it is timely to talk about issues, challenges, and the progress on post-adoption services. The plenary session began with a discussion on post-adoption services guidelines given by Professor Maria Lira del Castillo, board member of ICAB. Financial issues of intercountry adoption and post-adoption matters were discussed by Ms. Laura Martinez Mora, Principal Legal Officer of the Permanent Bureau of the Hague Convention on Private International Law from the Netherlands. Sharing of experiences on the journey of international adoptees was led by Ms. Hannah Philomen Myavaten, an adoptee from Norway, together with Mr. James Wilson and Mr. Kenneth Lieb, who are both adoptees from the United States. In the afternoon, adoptive parents Ms. Nikki Esquivel, Mr. Tony Dunn, and Mrs. Cristel Gadio Flandrink shared their adoption experiences and talked about the role of adoptive families in search and reunion. Ms. Esquivel shared her insights on how to avoid the most difficult aspects of post-placement time of a child. Mr. Dunn explored the role and readiness of parents to assist in search and reunion of birth families, particularly how social media impacts in that search and ongoing contact with families. On the other hand, Ms. Flandrink discussed how love can overcome difficult situations and sad pasts. An update on the Philippine Intercountry Adoption Program was given by Dr. Aida Muncada, board member of ICAB. She also talked about major board policies, program developments, and challenges of Philippine Intercountry Adoption Program. Later in the afternoon, delegates from the US and Canada held a consultation with the members of ICAB. Day 2 of the conference started off with a discussion on supporting parties to the Adoption Circle and Root Search in the UK context by Ms. Jill Howarth, Chief Executive of the Intercountry Adoption Center from the United Kingdom. Ms. Howarth described the services her agency provides for adopted adults and for members of birth families who have lost their children to adoption. Ms. B. Evans, Director of the TIES program from the United States, talked about how birth country travel enhances an individual's sense of story. Ms. Irene Parsinen Hentula, Chief of the Intercountry Adoption Services of Save the Children from Finland, discussed changes in post-adoption trends in their country. She also talked about the Adoption Act of 2012, which includes adoption counseling after granting the adoption. Mr. Steve Cobb, Adoptee Services Director of the Holt International Children's Services from the United States, talked about pre-search preparation on post-adoption. He differentiated the two languages that evolved during the post-adoption period, which are the popular language and the avoided language. Miss Anne Luce and Miss Katia Verbeek of Flanders Intercountry Adoption Care from Belgium talked about the creation of a Roots program that would benefit their adoptees. A discourse on post-adoption research in Australia was led by Mr. Peter Arnaudo, Assistant Secretary of the Australian Government Attorney General's Department. Ms. Luz de Belfoy, Directrice General of the Secretariat à l'Adoption Internationale from Quebec, Canada, talked about their experience in assisting their adoptees to trace their origins. In the afternoon, Mr. Paul Healy, Director of the Children's Shelter of Cebu, explored some of the out-of-the-ordinary types of situations that they have experienced over the years relative to searches. On the other hand, Sister Mary Lorenza Sangalang, Executive Director of the Heart of Mary Villa, shared their experience in accompanying adoptees in their continuing journey. Simultaneous breakout sessions followed, with a workshop on setting up the Post-Adoption Services Unit facilitated by Ms. Jennifer Abenido, Social Welfare Officer 4 of ICAB. The discussants is Maria Teresa Nuki, Executive Director of Norville Foundation, and Maria Alicia S. Bonoan, Director of DSWD National Capital Region. Ms. Jennifer Savage, Chief of the Immigrant Visa Section of the Embassy of the United States, and Mr. David Roy discussed the processing of visa and immigration matters in relation to adoption. They were then followed by Attorney Peter Michael Dizon from Quasha, Ancheta, Peña, and Nolasco Law Office, who talked about the process of acquiring dual citizenship and recognition of citizenship. The discussion on immigration and citizenship was facilitated by Mr. Danilo Gatmaitan, Social Welfare Officer 3 of ICAB, Mr. Joan Forner Rovira from Andoran Central Authority, and Ms. Lisa Wilful, member of the Board of Directors from Hand in Hand International Adoption, shared in another breakout session their own adoption experience. It was facilitated by Attorney Gwen Gana, President of the Association of Child Caring Agencies of the Philippines. The afternoon ended with a consultation with delegates from Asia Pacific, Europe, and ICAB. The fellowship night began with Senator Grace Poe relating her past experience as an adoptee and the difficulties that her adoptive parents encountered in processing her adoption documents. She also plans to file a bill in the Philippine Senate making adoption an administrative process instead of a judicial process. A cultural dance presentation by the world-class performers Bayanihan Dance Group kicked off the fellowship dinner, showcasing the intricate movement and expression of Philippine cultural dances. Participants then showcased their own talents as part of the program. The night ended with a moving and emotional group performance from adoptees Hannah Miavatan, James Wilson, and Kenneth Lieb. It was a long but productive day 2 of the conference. The last day of the convention began with a presentation of the Adoption Advocacy Campaign of ICAB and DSWD in partnership with McCann World Group. The advocacy campaign, Love Sees Beyond Differences, was undertaken to remove any negative stigma on adoption. A covenant was signed by the participants to reaffirm their commitment to undertake close coordination and collaboration to constantly improve the efficient and effective delivery of post-legal adoption services and to ensure that adopted children preserve cultural links with their country of origin. Mr. Rafael Tino, board member of ICAB, summed up the highlights of the past 2 days of the convention. He expressed his appreciation to the delegates for their participation in this year's Global Consultation. The 12th Philippine Global Consultation on Child Welfare Services once again brought a huge number of participants from different agencies around the world, providing an excellent opportunity to discuss post-adoption concerns and inter-country adoption issues. It is anticipated that this gathering would have immediate effects to address inter-country adoption issues and improve post-adoption services. We hope to see you again in the next Global Consultation on Child Welfare Services.